Hola, soy Sergio Puebla para Hey NASH.
Deeply appreciate you joining us for tonight's event. This lecture is made possible by the generous support of the Dr. Ming Wang Cosmopolitan Initiative. The purpose of this series is to promote civil dialogue on the economic, philosophical, and political benefits of an interconnected, tolerant, and cosmopolitan world. The series features academic scholars exploring the role of global trade, immigration, and de-escalation in establishing a more peaceful and prosperous society for all of humanity. We deeply appreciate your support, Dr. Ming Wang, and I want to thank our staff in particular, Brian Delaney, where is he? Right back there, as well as Henriette Bailey. Thank you so much. They did all the work to make this possible. I was in my office doing research the whole time, I swear, they did everything. So definitely take the time to thank them for what they did. And I'm thrilled to introduce our moderator tonight. Our moderator is Kip Dodson, and he has an MBA, and he is an industrial engineer, entrepreneur, principal of Dodson Management Consulting. He's the co-founder and board member of Empowered Local, board member of Tennessee Immigrant Minority Business Group, and owner of A Moment's Peace Salon and Spa. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, welcome. I want to tell you a story about how this conversation started. So he just finished telling you I'm an industrial engineer. I am an MBA. I am a small business owner. I started a company called Empowered Local, which controls the technology for Rutherford Source. If you've ever heard of that, A to Z Sports. We basically do digital online media. I'm going to introduce Dr. Wang. He is a Harvard MD graduate, MD magna cum laude, from, he's a Harvard MIT graduate, magna cum laude, and he is one of the few laser eye surgeons in the world today who hold a doctorate degree in laser physics. He's the co-founder of the nonprofit Common Ground Network. He also has a film on his life called Sight. Dr. Wang.
Good evening. Before my time starts, keep tight control because we want to leave question. I want to talk about these two organizations briefly. Dr. Daniel Smith, Director of MTSU Political Economy Research Institute. I have the honor to be one of the sponsors, and this is the sponsor of the lecture series. And I want to encourage all businessmen and women to participate, sponsoring an education activity to help our community. Second, this event is also co-sponsored by Tennessee Immigrant and Minority Business Group. It's a group of African Americans, Latin Americans, Asian Americans, white Americans that are serving our community to help each other in business and to help America. And I will just have the board members of Tennessee Immigrant Minority Business Group, current board members, and Donovan, former board members as well. Stand up, please. John McNeil, COO, Tony Roberts, Donovan, Kip, raise hand. So those are the folks at the Tennessee Immigrant Minority Business Group. Thank you. Each of us are giving by Kip a task. Today I'm just talk about why. Why I'm so passionate about celebrating racial diversity, overcoming polarization. Our country is so polarized, unprecedentedly so. We're no longer willing to try to work across political aisles, racial divides, and ethnic divisions. Why are we so polarized? And people say, why are you so interested in the topic? I'm interested because I used to live in a very polarized society. America, let's don't go there. To explain my why, that I'm very passionate about racial diversity and common ground seeking, I just want to show you this brief video about the film that Kip was talking about. Light, please.
No matter what happens to you in life, your perception of life is the most important. And whether that's with sight or without, there's always something to be grateful for. Dr. Ming Wang is a world-renowned optometrist
who has had an extraordinary life and has an extraordinary story to tell. This was a guy who really came from nothing and created something. And he finds himself at the top of his professional career, and a patient enters his life.
You can call me Dr. Ming.
And it's the sight of her that sparks something in Dr. Wang's life, and he remembers his past. Dr. Wang grew up as a kid in China.
My journey from China to America, and due to many challenges, difficulties.
It's hard getting into medical school here in the States. And you coming from China, don't waste your time.
And then you watch this incredible journey of Ming coming from where he came from.
And then evolves into this completely outrageous story.
I say work in Mandarin.
Yes.
We are where we came from, but we could be so much more if we could find peace with our past and embrace the present. So why we are so polarized? As an immigrant, someone who arrived in this country with nearly nothing, seeing that people from all over the world are putting their lives on the line so they can come to live in America. I've been studying with Dr. Wright's books and trying to figure out how to find a common ground through the study of scripture. And we published a book called Common Ground Bible Study, outlining the common ground seeking steps. You got to see it. You got to learn how to trade places, speak the language of the listener. You got to demonstrate empathy. When we meet someone with different opinions, different ideas about racial divisions, instead of yelling and shouting, could we adopt the SALT principle, S-A-L-T? S, start a conversation. A, ask a question. L, listen. And then and only then, talk. Perseverance and put in action. You know who motivated us to formulate these common ground seeking steps? It's none other than Jesus Christ himself.
So I'd like to introduce you my panel because they all have very unique solutions. First of all, I'd like to introduce a woman named Sandra Lee. Sandra Lee, will you come up here? Sandra Lee is an executive with Salem Communications. Most people know, sit down there right next to me. That's right. She is a executive with Salem Communications. Most people know about the FISH, Christian Radio Broadcasting Network. She is a singer-songwriter. She is also the executive director and founder of the Hispanic Organization for Leaders and Achievers, Sandra Lee. I would also now like to introduce Lee Molette. Lee, will you come up, please? Lee is a friend of mine. We live in Brentwood together. Lee, where did you grow up? Detroit, that's right. Detroit, Michigan. He started out in insurance sales and is now he's an owner of an investment firm that invests in real estate and developing housing projects within diversity locations. And he is also the founder of The Table. He will tell you about The Table because The Table was specifically created to have conversations across diverse groups. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce Howard Henderson. Howard Henderson is originally from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He graduated from MTSU. He has a doctorate degree in basically studying what he's going to talk about. But he loves his family. He loves having great conversations, and we'll go over that when we ask him for his solution. And the final panelist is Donovan Robertson. Donovan Robertson. He is originally from Kingstown, Jamaica. He went to Columbia University. He is now an owner of an investment capital group that specifically helps investment going into diversified programs. He'll tell you more about that when he speaks. Dr. Wang, you spoke on your items, but I'm going to force you quickly, please, to one go-do that has not been mentioned yet on how to learn from diversity, and end racism?
Make a friend who's not different from
Make a friend who is different from.
Love that. Sandra,
Yes,
you have 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, timer, you back there? Please
Just gotta keep that time.
address the question
Yes.
about how you have, tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know about you. We want to know how you came to this. We want to know what you're doing to measure your solution. What is your solution to learning from diversity and ending racism?
Well, at first look, you probably wouldn't think that I'm Latina, but I am. My father is actually from Spain. My born name is Sandra Di Chacon. So I think, okay. I think that's the first thing. You know, sometimes you size someone up and don't really know them. So I'm Latina and I grew up in a Latin household, so I came from that perspective. And believe it or not, as a kid, I felt that I was in a marginalized group in our neighborhood because my brothers were very dark little Spanish boys. They didn't look like me. My mother was blonde-haired, blue-eyed Swedish woman, and my father was a dark Spaniard. And so some of the neighborhood kids would call us Mexicans and tell us that we eat beans. And actually, we did eat beans, but I would go home crying, and I'd say, well, they said we only eat tortillas and beans, and then my mother would be making tortillas and beans. So, but what I did was I grew up with a perspective of, you know, knowing that we're different and celebrating our differences. I have a heart for the Latin community because of my heritage, and that's why part of the reason that I got involved with Latinos for Tennessee, and then that transitioned into a very non-political organization called HOLA, Hispanic Organization of Leaders and Achievers, where we basically exist to just be a resource to the Latin community, and to be someone who can empower them and give them a hand up and help them in their process. Dr. Wang knows when you come to this country from another country, you come with a little bit of a deficit. Maybe it's a language barrier, maybe it's not knowing how we operate our business, our culture, and you have to assimilate into this country. And so many of the Latinos that I help or mentor have come with some of those challenges. So we just are here to help them to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And the way that we do that, and so my solution, Kip, is through mentorship. Our organization really focuses on mentorship. I do believe, and in my life, I have had some of the greatest mentors, whether they were a boss or someone that just took an interest in me. I was an actress and a singer and a dancer and got into business. And along the way, I just needed to learn the ropes, I call it. You know, learn from someone else's experience and from someone else's mistakes and wins, and something that can help circumvent my journey and help me to have a better opportunity to succeed. So my solution and what we focus on in HOLA is mentorship. I do believe, not only with the Latin community, but with any minority group, that if you mentor a minority, you are going to be filled with so many things. It's going to be as good for you as it is for the mentee, as for the mentor, the mentee. And I believe it's something that all of us can do. And I challenge all of you, if you're not already mentoring someone, it could be a single mom, it could be someone in business, it could be a friend, it could be somebody who's overcoming something. But being a mentor is a powerful position that can feed you and the mentee.
So I want to transition to Lee. Lee, you got 5 minutes. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and please evolve our conversation on what is the solution that people can go out and do.
Great to see you all this evening. So thanks for having us. Again, my name is Lee Molette. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Graduated from college, North Carolina Central University in Durham. My first job, which brought me to Nashville, I worked for a company called Southwestern Company. It's one of the oldest companies in Nashville. I sold books door to door to pay for college. I worked 3 jobs. That was one of them. I did that during the summer. Worked UPS, Kmart. Y'all remember Kmart? I'm not the reason they closed down. But But I did that through college, and then moved to Nashville as a sales manager with Southwestern Company. It's interesting. You kind of talk about moving from another place, if you will, or another country and moving here. Well, I grew up in Detroit, so 85% African American. I saw people that looked like me that had weekend houses and horses and drove Rolls Royces and lived in big houses and all that stuff. So I saw that growing up, and it was always kind of one of those things where, I could do that. The judges, the high-level executives at Ford Motor Company and General Motors, and I grew up. I'm 54, so this was in the 70s. So I saw that growing up, and I just saw the progressiveness of people around me, and then you kind of move to the South and move somewhere different where you don't really see that, and so you kind of. And this is 2023, I'm talking about that. We don't have a whole lot. I've been here 30 years, but you move somewhere else and you don't see the same thing. So the thing that we do at the table is we intentionally bring people together to meet each other, because a lot of times our issues are the fact that we don't know each other.
So, Mr. Howard Henderson, can you please, it's Dr. Howard.
Whatever you want it to be.
Yes. Dr. Howard, please tell us a little bit more about yourself that I have not given justice to.
It's
and
fine.
Your solution is?
I'll get to that in a moment, and I appreciate it. Going behind Sandra and Lee is difficult, but I think I want to do something first, and I want to come off the cuff with this, because I think, Lee kind of stole some of my thunder, and Sandra did as well, and Dr. Wang really knocked it out. But I think it's important to answer your question first, and that is, what is that one thing that you can do to make a difference? And I think that the one thing you can do is to find a kid and tell that kid that they can make it, right? And if you look around the room, I want to do something, and my mom is in the room, raise your hand. She's there. My family's in the room, raise your hand. And so, friends of the family, Dr. Bonner's in the room, raise your hand, Dr. Bonner, and I got Coach Fields in the room, my high school football coach there in the corner over there, and so for me, it's being able to learn the lessons from people who came before you, right? And 5 years ago, we started a research center because we recognized that there was no one who was making sure that poor people, working class people, had representation. Policymakers were taking their information for people who were typically on one side or the other. So we put together an all-black research team, and we began to work directly with the U.S. Congress, working with legislators to show them that there were solutions that can do two things. One, you can reduce racial disparities in our criminal justice system. And two, you can maintain public safety. I'll give you an example. The assumption is that black people like crime. I'm going to use that example. Right? That's a very flawed assumption, because the people who live in these communities know there needs to be someone there to protect their interests. What I'm going to say, again, to answer this question is to make sure that, number one, you give someone an opportunity, you show them the example. But number two, you make sure you don't let them go. Right? Because some of us think, we opened the door, we're done with it. We have to make sure that you stay there with that person, because they need you to be there, because they're going to be tough times. So at the end of the day, these conversations, we need to have more conversations like this. I think being able to raise your kids, they see a positive example. To know that you're able to help people make a difference. Because as Lee stated, everyone wants their kid to go to college and be successful, but I think we all deep down want our kids to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Whether or not they go to college or not, you want them to be good people, to help people, and to be able to recognize when they have an opportunity to help someone.
Wonderful. All right, survey, we want some data, all right? The engineer wants some data. One of the ways you collect data is you survey, all right? Raise your hand if you think we have a larger problem with diversity right now than we did 5 years ago. Now, Donovan Robertson, would you please tell people about yourself and what's your solution, please? And what to do, what we got to do.
Good evening, everyone. I will start with the solution. Get a lobotomy. If you want to not be racist, if you want to not discriminate, if you want to not be sexist, you have to get a lobotomy. That is the only thing that's going to work. My name is Donovan Robertson. I'm originally from Kingston, Jamaica. I am a sexist, I am a racist. If you get out your dictionary and you look up the words, you will see that I am sexist and racist, and so are you. Everybody in this room, based on the definition of racism and sexism. And so if we don't agree with the dictionary, that's fine. But remember, this is MTSU, university, we should believe in facts, correct? Yes, no? Are we going to agree with the dictionary, yes or no? It's simple. Either we do or we don't. And so when we look at the definition of the word, excuse me a second, I judge people. I judge people every single day. I met Sandra. The first I met Sandra, I judged her. I said she was a white woman. She looked white to me. Therefore, based on how my brain is programmed, I said white woman, sexist and racist. True. And so, at the end of the day, we have to understand that these things, these social constructs, we created them. And we need them. We need them. They help us to survive. But they're also the things that divide us. Every single one of them. Race, religion, sex, gender, blah, 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 blah. You go down the list. They are designed to divide us. They create us and them, us and the others. We have to understand that, and then we have to embrace those differences, allow people to be different, but then we need to come together. Here's an example. 9/11. I was at a meeting yesterday. I told people that the United States of America needs a 9/11 to the third power in order for us to come together. He looked at me and said, Donovan, you're wrong. And after we talked for a while, I was like, man, we really need a 9/11 to the 50th power. 9/11, most folks came together. There was the others, right? To be honest, there were the others, right? But the majority of us came together, and that lasted for, I thought it was about 3 months. He said, Donovan, it was about 6 weeks. So we know how to come together. We need a common enemy. We need a common enemy. Right now, we are our own enemies. We're very comfortable in this country. Very, very, very comfortable. So we come up with things to make us upset and to make us mad and so on. My job is to make you comfortably uncomfortable. Right now, you're too darn comfortable. I'm announcing to the world that I am now Jewish and Asian. I'm serious. I'm Jewish and Asian. And so if I can be Jewish and Asian, because social constructs are malleable, they change over time. I told people I love Rachel Dolezal. That is one great black woman. She had 2 jobs. Then why did black people and others kick her out? That just didn't make sense to me. Girdling roots. We're allowing our social constructs to take over because we're too darn comfortable. We're different. We're always going to be different. Get a lobotomy. That's the only way. Thank you.
So, thank you, Donovan. So Donovan and I actually published an editorial in the Tennessee. And it started out with 2 guys go to lunch. One guy's white, one guy's black.
I'm the black one.
Dr. Wang, you had one final comment, and I have a final survey question.
I'd like to thank Professor Daniel Smith for hosting this forum on behalf of MTSU, Political Economy Research Institute. Speaking of sponsorship, Lee talked about that's sponsor more education activities such as PERI is valuable. and also on behalf of Tennessee Immigrant Minority Business School, Kip, Diane, Canada, and we welcome all of you to join. I have, when you leave, I have a little present for you, Tennessee Minority Yellow Page, Minority Business Yellow Page. So these are all Latino Americans, African American, Asian American business. That's a directory dedicated to minorities. And also a copy of my autobiography book, which is being made into a movie, as you saw the clip. I welcome everyone. The movie is about freedom, it's about faith, and it's about common ground. And I'd like to propose to give a warm hands to Kip for a wonderful job today.
It's a pleasure to be on your Hey Nashville again. And tonight is a educational forum at MTSU about racial reconciliation, how to end racism, and how to bring people together. We have panelists from wide range of walks of society, different professions. They're blacks, Latinos, Asian Americans, whites. 20% US population today are Latino Americans, 18% African Americans, 6% Asian Americans. Even though these three are minorities, together we are 44% of US population. So in about 5 years, these three minorities, Latinos, African Americans, Asians, will become the majority. So it is time for us. It's time for all of us to unite, to overcome our polarization, and to identify the common ground. And what is our common ground? It's love for America, love for Jesus Christ, and our desire to really build up this great country called United States of America. And I want to say to all the Latinos audience of your program out there that let's work together and welcome you all join the Tennessee Immigrant and Minority Business School to help each other in business, whether you're Latino radio business, restaurant business, car business. We as immigrant and minorities, we all can help each other. If we don't help each other, who will? So welcome to Tennessee Immigrant and Minority Business Group.
I am the COO of the Tennessee Immigrant and Minority Business Group. I work along with Dr. Ming Wang, and we have 4 forums per year where we bring community leaders and business leaders together to talk about important topics that affect us in the community. It's a business chamber. It's the fastest growing business chamber in Middle Tennessee, and folks can get in touch with us by going to timbg.org. We'd love to have you come to one of our forums.
Sure. What we held tonight is the Ending Racism Forum, which is also called the Learning from Diversity Forum. It's a forum that was designed by business leaders to squarely address the problem of ending racism, something we should all kind of universally agree about. And what we intentionally do is only bring people to the table that have implemented and their solutions are working. So what we do is we start a conversation, and then we show what people can do about it, and by the end of the event, you can do something about it.
Okay, everything about to the equal opportunities for everybody.
That's correct.
That's it. All right. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the interview. Appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure.
Well, I'm always interested in this topic, and I had a question tonight that I posed, which was, why is it that some people look at America and see opportunity, and other people look at America and see oppression? And I'm just very curious about this, and one of the things that came out of that panel discussion tonight was, I think, 2 things. One, it really is a matter of someone's mindset, the mentorship that they've received, their ability to view the world as a place of opportunity, versus someone who has not received positive encouragement or reinforcement, a good mindset for them to be able to see the world as anything other than oppressive. So it's just, I just am always on a quest for different viewpoints around this, and so I really appreciated that tonight.
My name is Sandra Lee. My born name is Sandra Lee Chacon. I'm so privileged to actually be serving and sitting on this panel to talk about diversity and ending racism and solutions that I think having the conversations with a lot of different kinds of people about celebrating our differences, but coming together on our common ground. I was able to propose mentorship. I believe mentoring a minority is a great solution, and it's really great to have a platform to talk about it. And one of the ways that we do that is through a lot of organizations that are set up, a lot of nonprofits. I'm the executive director of HOLA, Hispanic Organization of Leaders and Achievers, and my organization reaches out to the Latino community, not really to just give them things, to help them, to mentor them. Do they have a language barrier? Are they struggling with becoming a citizen, trying to figure out how they open their business? They need a business license, they need a loan from the bank, they don't know, they need a computer, they're trying to go to college. So my organization helps to offer solutions and processes and resources and organizations that can help them take the next steps in whatever it is that they're needing.
We're happy to host it. You know, it's important to have these conversations, especially during African American History Month. So we're thrilled to have an avenue, especially bringing people like Dr. Howard Henderson, who's done a lot of research on these issues, alumni of Middle Tennessee State University, back to his hometown to talk about these issues. I think it's really important to have these conversations.
You are watching Hey Nash, and I'm Sandra Lee, the Executive Director of HOLA, Hispanic Organization of Leaders and Achievers.
Hi, you are watching Hey Nash. I'm Dan Smith from Middle Tennessee State University.